Hey guys, I just wanted to say Happy New Year. I hope you all had a safe and happy holiday season, and now that we are in the new year, hopefully everybody will have a better year in 2021, us included. I feel like it was pretty rough for us. I want to say 2020 started in 2019 for us because of everything that happened in 2019 as well. So it feels like we had an extra long year, but I feel good about this year. I hope that this year is much better for everybody and our family included. So anyways, I just wanted to do this intro because today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be going through how we made our side lights and front door and all of that. It's just going to be a bunch of pictures and then some video clips, and I'll just kind of walk you through what we did to make these, and then we'll go from there. So I guess we'll just hop right into this. Starting off, this is our front door, and luckily it came packaged correctly, so it was not damaged. It was also from a different company other than our windows. If you haven't seen our window videos, I'll have them linked, but as you guys know, it was a pretty rough go with our windows so far. So here's our front door. It is from Masonite, and I can't remember what they call it. And the first step that we had to do was basically go to Home Depot and pick out all the material that we needed. And sure enough, Home Depot did not have all the material that we needed. So we had to do some mixing up and finding what could work. So we used a combination between knotty pine material and then the fine, what do they call it? Knotty pine and spruce select, I believe, or something. Or they have knotty pine, which is like the lower quality pine, but then they have the pine with not as many knots. So we ended up getting all of our material. Once we got our door in, we needed to match the molding that is in the door. So you'll see the bottom panel has molding around the panel and creates this rectangular formation underneath the glass. So we had to try and copy that. So we went into Home Depot, and thankfully they had the molding that was almost identical to this door. So moving on, we actually built the boxes for the side lights first, and we put those together to make sure that they would work with our door. And then you can see we started cutting up pieces and trying just the fit of everything with our side lights. So I should have mentioned, but we did order these side lights that match the glass in the front door so that we could create these side light panels ourselves. So you'll see here that we started putting all the pieces together. So you'll see like a 1x4 pine, we had a 1x12 and a 1x10, a 1x6 pine, all of these pieces and components that fit together to create this panel. So as you can see in the molding, the white part, inside is just a piece of pine. And that later on you'll see what we do to that to make it look more like the door. So you can see in this picture here that we have our base that sticks out past our actual side light panel, and that is the sill. And here is where comes the detail. So as you can see, none of this is glued in, it's just kind of set in together. But we started by planing the edges of the center piece. So we planed the edges all to a nice angle, and then we kind of drew in where we would need to router our piece to match the door. And in this little clip is where you can see Dad actually planing the corners, and then I'm going in and actually fixing up all of the routered edges. At this point we were on to making all of the panels. So here Dad is actually sanding the edges where he just planed, and you can see the nice crisp edges coming together. And then once again, we're constantly fitting all of this together to make sure that everything was working out nicely. This is the router table. We are routering the pieces, and then we decided to actually use the hand router. We set up a guide so that we could follow a straight line. So you can see the pictures. Dad is in most of these, and Don't let that fool you. I for sure did a lot of routering and he did the planing, but of course Dad always tries first and then he lets me take over. So here is a finished panel or somewhat finished panel, unsanded, all fit together. As you can see, it's looking pretty nice and clean. Obviously, you know, there's some stuff that needs to be touched up, but as you can see in here, there's actually a pink insulation in between. Each of these panels has one panel on either side. So we had to create 4 panels for 2 side lights so that the insulation could go in between them. That's just us working away. Again, sanding. So there's the panels again, and this is us actually standing the boxes up beside the doors, and you can see that the sills match up at the bottom. So there's Harley just lounging away in the workshop inside the side light, which I thought was pretty funny. He was in there quite a bit helping us. There's these 2 side light boxes together, and here you can see the insulation in between the panels, and this is when we started to put all the panels together. All right, we got almost one full panel glued up. That has to be cut out where the glass goes, and then we have some trim pieces to glue in, but we also have those glued up underneath there and there. And then we just tested the color. So we primed it earlier, and then it's hard to tell, but it's like a gray brown. So there's our boxes, which are completely finished, and then we get to slide this panel into there. And this is just me priming the boxes before we actually insert the panel, just because it's easier. And there's the 2 side light boxes primed, and then you can see we inserted the panel, and we wanted to keep this all one panel just to help with the rigidity until the window could be inserted, the side light, because we didn't want to cut out the insulation, just it would create a weak spot. So we left it full until we were ready to cut out the rest of the insulation. So there it is there. And you can see there we finally cut out the insulation because it was all glued and screwed. So there is the side light box and panel with the side light insert. And at this point you can really start to tell what it's going to look like when it's finished. And there is our first panel all primed and ready to be painted. There it is there against the door again. And our first coat of paint was going on. We did a very, very thin coat on the side lights first to try and help it stick to the vinyl that came with the side lights. You'll see upcoming that didn't work. Everybody knows that you can't paint the vinyl without it scraping off, so we're gonna have to try and figure out something else, whether that be us make our own molding out of wood and then inserting it, or something, but we'll have to figure that out. So anyways, that's what it's looking like, starting to dry, and there it is with the side light. And I think it looks great. And we used a black caulking, which actually was almost identical color to the color that we chose, even though the color that we chose wasn't black. The caulking black is not an actual true black, so it worked out great. And then we just painted over once we were done caulking. And you can see here I wanted to paint on the side made in December 2020, so that if the house was ever torn down or something, someone would know that we made it during the pandemic. So that was pretty cool. And there is our last coat of paint. We left the 2 side lights as separate pieces from the door until we actually took it to the property, and then we put all of the pieces together at the property and inserted the door into the opening. So that's what it looks like now, and I think it looks amazing. Again, always so proud of us to achieve these things, and this is the type of stuff that Dad likes working on, this fine detail carpentry work, and I enjoy it too, but it's definitely a lot more finicky and you have to be a lot more careful, but I think it turned out great and I'm super happy with the way it looks. I just got to figure out how to keep the color on the vinyl or do something about that because it will start chipping over time. Anyways, that is the video of how we made our side lights. It was fairly easy once we found the pieces that we needed. What we did at the beginning when we first got our door was we measured all of the components in it and basically went into Home Depot and said, okay, if we need 5 inches at the top panel of the door, then we're gonna need a 1x6 piece of pine to create that. So as soon as you break down the components of a door, you can quickly realize that you can put a door or a side light together to match what I've already purchased. So I want to say a door like this would go for around $2,500, but us making it only cost I think it was about $1,500. So in doing that, you save $1,000 for a front entrance door, and it looks great. I couldn't be more happy with it. I actually really love the color that we chose. Again, in our window videos, I mentioned that we weren't sure what color we were going to go with, and I came across this color. I matched it to our siding color. So this is our door color. And then we have our window trim that will actually go around our door, and then the siding color that will be on the rest of the house. So it's hard to tell, but these two are actually very different. And obviously this lighting doesn't do it justice, but they're along the same lines. And the door is definitely, that actually there is a pretty good representation of how different they are. This is more of like a soft browny gray, and this is more of like a greeny brown without as much gray. So there's the two there, and once you have the window trim in between, you will see the difference between them as well. So that's what we ended up going with. We could end up changing it in the future if we really wanted to, because it's just paint, and that's the great option about paint. Painting anything is you can always change it for pretty cheap. So I'm super happy with the glass that we chose. There's a few details that I found I didn't like about it, but for the overall look, I think it looks gorgeous. The door handle that we actually got was from Walmart on clearance. I happened to go down like one of the back aisles and got it for 40 bucks. And normally door handles can be like 150 and up for the complete set. So that was a steal. It's not necessarily my style, but it works for now and it gets the place locked up. So anyways, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and we will see you in our next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!